When I woke up, I'd time-traveled 10 years into the future. My wife was still a stunning, almost intimidatingly beautiful CEO. This felt like the perfect setup for a power fantasy story. But just as I was ready to embrace my new life at the top, I learned our relationship was already in ruins. Turns out, there was some old flame of hers pulling strings in the background. My power fantasy had turned into a cheap, misery porn drama, and I was pissed. Then again, I remembered that in these kinds of stories, the CEO wife always gives you a massive settlement in the divorce. Suddenly, I was okay with it all. The guy who was in love with her was 28-year-old Noah. What did that have to do with 18-year-old me? My eyes fluttered open to an unfamiliar hospital room and a woman sitting with her legs crossed, engrossed in a book. I was completely lost. Just last night, I was pulling an all-nighter at a LAN party with my buddies. How the hell did I end up here? My only hope was the woman in front of me. She was breathtakingly beautiful, but radiated an icy chill that kept you at a distance. Her hair cascaded down her back like a dark waterfall, and her eyes were as clear as an autumn lake, but as cold as a frozen one. Miss, ma'am. I ventured, trying to get her attention. She didn't respond, only lifting her eyes to give me a brief, dismissive glance. She was so gorgeous, I had to physically restrain myself from asking her to adopt me. Where am I? 1 minute, I was pushing the A side on Lotus, and the next I wake up here. What happened? I pressed on. Are you done yet? How long are you going to keep this act up? She snapped, her voice sharp. Faking an illness wasn't enough, so now you're faking amnesia? I'm busy. I don't have time to play games with you. Apparently, my questions had struck a nerve. She grabbed her purse, stood up, and walked out, leaving me utterly baffled. After that rapid-fire takedown, I pieced it together. I must have been dropped into the body of some pathetic loser in a trashy drama. I got up to see what this guy looked like, and my world came crashing down. It was me. Good news. I time-traveled in my future self. Bad news. My future self was the pathetic protagonist of a misery porn drama. I racked my brain, but couldn't figure out how things had gotten this bad. The first priority was to figure out what had happened over the last 10 years. I picked up my phone. Thank God, the passcode was the same. The photo album was filled with pictures of the woman from earlier. I took another moment to admire her flawless face, but it didn't give me any useful clues. I scrolled through the contacts list, a sea of unfamiliar names. After a while, I finally spotted it, Ben Carter, my best friend from high school. The same guy who, just yesterday, was right there with me at the LAN party. He picked up on the second ring. I can't explain over the phone, just get over here. Fast, I urged him. He really was a true friend. Ben showed up in less than half an hour. I was genuinely touched. So let me get this straight. You're telling me you're from the night we pulled that all-nighter after graduation? Ben asked, his face a mask of disbelief. This isn't some new trick you cooked up to win Tori back, is it? I was speechless. I had no idea what kind of magic this Tory woman possessed to turn me into such a clown. My last memory is of you baiting me on A site every single round. So don't push me, I said, the phantom frustration still fresh. If he hadn't been such a terrible teammate, I wouldn't have stayed up all night, and I wouldn't have woken up in this mess. Ben hesitated, then after a moment, started to fill me in on the last decade. After graduation, you got into Northwood University. That's where you met Victoria Vance, Tori. You told me it was love at first sight, but my guess is you chased her for a long time. Why else would a girl like that fall for you? I got into Northwood. Since when's their standards so low? Did my dad donate a library? I was stunned. Shouldn't our relationship be solid then? A minute ago, she looked at me like she wanted me dead. Did I cheat on her? Ben started hemming and hawing. I knew something was wrong and pressed him to keep talking. I wasn't prepared for what he told me next. It was like my body had been possessed for the last 10 years. I couldn't believe I had become such a colossal simp. Apparently, I cooked elaborate meals for Tori every single day. If she so much as hinted at needing something, I would drop everything at work to run her side. And if that wasn't bad enough, the moment her old flame came back to town, she made the guy vice president of her company. They were seen everywhere together, completely ignoring me. Hearing this made my blood boil. In high school, I was popular. I had my fair share of girls interested in me. How could I have devolved into this pathetic, cheated-on husband? Son of a bitch, I'm done with her. The fact that Ben thought I was trying to win her back made it even worse. She treats me like that, and I'm supposed to want her back? I'm Noah Miller. I was a legend in my own time, handsome, charming, from a good family. How could I become a doormat? Well, you faked being sick just to get her to visit, and you caused a huge scene at her company, Ben said with a shrug. I honestly thought this amnesia thing was just your latest stunt. The more I thought about how pathetic my life had become, the angrier I got. You got a smoke? I need one. Ben handed one over. I lit it, but the moment the smoke hit my lungs, I erupted into a violent coughing fit. What the hell? How long has it been since this body had a cigarette? I'm coughing from a light. You quit, Ben said. You told me Tori couldn't stand the smell of smoke. That just made me even angrier. I grabbed my jacket and, using the address Ben gave me, stormed over to Tori's office building. I tried to march straight into the lobby, but a security guard stopped me. Mr. Miller, please, he said, his eyes pleading. After the last time you caused a scene, Ms. Vance docked our pay for a month. We really can't let you in. Don't make this hard on us. Looking at his desperate expression, I couldn't bring myself to push past him. I pulled out my phone and called Tori. Unsurprisingly, it went straight to voicemail. As I was about to dial again, I heard the guards behind me suddenly straighten up and say in unison, "Good morning, Mr. Croft." I turned around to see a man in a sharp, well-tailored suit. He was handsome, but not as handsome as me. Looking for Tori, he asked, his eyes unreadable but with a hint of contempt. Come with me, but you have to promise not to pull a stunt like last time. Don't worry, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I'm just here to give you my blessing. How ironic. I had to get permission from my wife's old flame just to see her. You should watch your mouth, Miller, Julian Croft snapped, his brow furrowing. If I hadn't gone abroad back then, the title of Tori's husband would have never been yours. Then why did you go abroad? Running away from something. I shot back. I'm not like you. When I love someone, I don't just run away. Thank God I had grilled Ben about this Julian guy before I came. Otherwise, I'd be losing ground to the other man, and I couldn't let that happen. According to Ben, Julian and Tori grew up together, classic childhood sweethearts. They were supposed to go to Northwood together, but he bailed and went overseas instead. The tension was thick as we rode the elevator up to Tori's office. I didn't wait for an invitation. I just pushed the door open and walked in. How many times do I have to tell you to knock before? Tori started, her voice laced with anger. She looked up, saw it was me, and her expression softened for a fraction of a second before her frown returned. Didn't I tell you not to bother me during work hours? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. Tori, I've thought it over. Let's stop torturing each other. Let's get a divorce. So you're not faking amnesia anymore. Weren't you just claiming you didn't know me? And for the record, you're the one who's been torturing me. Then it hit her. Divorce. Noah, you want to divorce me? The slight smirk that had been playing on Tori's lips froze. Her beautiful eyes widened and stared at me. Believe it or not, I really did lose my memory. But don't worry, I won't bother you anymore. I sighed. My past self had been so pathetic that I had to be this meek now. But I was confused. I was the one asking for a divorce, so why didn't she look happy about it? It was like my words had flipped a switch. She dismissed Julian, who was shamelessly eavesdropping at the door, and stormed toward me. The sheer force of her presence made me feel a little weak. At the end of the day, I was still just a kid who'd barely graduated high school. Facing off against a corporate powerhouse like Tori Vance was intimidating. You want a divorce? Fine. You leave with nothing, she said, her eyes filled with a threat that made me feel like she could have me disappeared. Tori's power was intense, but the thought of leaving with nothing was a deal-breaker. I was an 18-year-old high school grad with no job skills. I was counting on that settlement to live comfortably. Are you serious? You're the one who cheated, and now you have a nerve to tell me to leave without a penny. Is that even legal? I was losing my cool. Your choice. Leave with nothing, or we stay married. Decide, she said flatly, then turned and walked out, leaving me fuming in her office. If I didn't desperately need the money, I might have just agreed out of sheer anger. So much for my brilliant plan to get rich quick. It was over before it even started. Back in the hospital, Ben and I stared at each other. Seriously, how do I divorce her and still get a payout? I don't get it. I got into Northwood. I'm supposed to be a smart guy. How did I not save a single dime in 10 years? I almost couldn't even cover the hospital bill. Anyway, Venmo me 50 bucks. I'm craving some KFC. I still couldn't wrap my head around how my life had turned out this way. Because she has your debit card, Ben said, giving me a look of pity as he pulled out his phone to order the chicken. After you guys graduated, she wanted to start her own business. You got a job and gave her every paycheck to fund her dream. You're a total simp, man. Oh my God, she's a monster. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I launched into a 2-hour tirade against Tori. Right as I was getting really worked up, I saw Ben's face freeze. What the hell is wrong with her? She's a psycho. If you don't like someone, just divorce them. Why torture me? What do I owe her? Say something, dude. Are you brain dead? I followed Ben's gaze and turned around. My eyes met Tori's. She looked like she was about to commit murder. If there was any hope of salvaging the situation before, it was gone now. Seeing the look in her eyes, I knew I was screwed. Forget leaving with nothing. She was probably going to sue me for everything I didn't have. What are you doing here? I stammered, my bravado vanishing. I wasn't talking about you. I'm taking you home, she said, her voice devoid of any warmth. Or do you have somewhere else to stay now? I hated the coldness in her voice, but caught red-handed, I had no choice but to sheepishly follow her out. The car ride was silent. I stare out the window, the awkwardness so thick you could cut it with a knife. Finally, I decided to break the silence. Can you tell me how we got married? Tori flinched, a flicker of some complex emotion crossing her face. You really lost your memory. I don't know if it's amnesia or time travel. All I know is that yesterday I was a high school grad planning to dye my hair, pull an all-nighter, and go on a road trip. Now, I'm a middle-aged guy who's been your doormat for a decade. I watched the scenery fly by, a wave of melancholy washing over me. We were happy when we first got together, she said softly. You would always have dinner ready for me when I got home. I looked forward to it all day, just curling up on the sofa with you. We didn't have much money then, but we were happy. She paused, and I could have sworn her eyes looked a little misty. For some reason, my heart twinged. And then you cheated on me? I asked cautiously. Of course not, she said, shooting me a glare before continuing. But I don't know when it started. You became so sensitive, so suspicious. You always assumed if I came home late it was because I was with someone else. We started fighting more and more. It got even worse after Julian came back. It was exhausting. But that's all in the past now. Since you've lost your memory, we can start over. This was not what I expected. I figured we had some kind of arranged, loveless marriage. I never thought there had been real feelings between us. Remembering how cold she'd been when I woke up, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for my future self. Her story was completely different from what Ben had told me. I didn't know who to believe. But when Tori said we could start over, a part of me was actually tempted. Still, I couldn't understand why I would have become so insecure and paranoid. I was never like that at 18. I was more curious than ever about what had really happened in those 10 years. By the time I was lost in thought, we had arrived at our home. It was huge, bigger than my 18-year-old mind could have ever imagined. The decor was minimalist, but artistic, which, I had to admit, was my style. Nice taste. I silently congratulated myself. I sat down on a sofa that looked incredibly expensive, and a wave of surrealism washed over me. The keypad code for the door is 0309, she said. If you've forgotten anything else, just ask me now. What's the date for? I searched my memory, but came up blank. It must have been something that happened after we met. Our wedding anniversary, she said. It's late. You should get some rest. She clearly didn't want to talk about it, so I didn't press. Later that night, I was about to find a guest room to sleep in when Tori pulled me into the master bedroom. If we're starting over, there's no need to sleep in separate rooms. Her tone was brief and absolute, leaving no room for argument. I never said I wanted to start over. I muttered, but my 18-year-old self had zero experience with this kind of situation. I surrendered meekly. The sound of the shower filled the room, the running water echoing the frantic beating of my heart. I couldn't think straight. A few minutes later, a warm body pressed against mine. She wrapped her arms around me and kissed me, a kiss that was part passion, part desperate release. After a night of tangled limbs and whispered words, I finally understood why my past self had been so utterly devoted to her. This woman, I thought, was a damn succubus. After agreeing to start over with Tori, I finally got a taste of what it was like to be in love. There was no sign of her old flame, and I was beginning to think Ben was just jealous and made the whole thing up. Tori was exactly my type. A cool exterior with a hidden warmth. Wait, no. My type was always the sweet, kind-hearted girl. Life was good. I was starting to understand my past self more and more. I realized I was probably already falling in love with Tori. But just when happiness felt within reach, the countdown to disaster began. One day, Tori asked me to go with her to a corporate gala. The thought of being surrounded by people I was supposed to know but didn't recognize made me anxious. I didn't want to cause any trouble for her, so I declined. Instead, I met up with Ben at a nearby barbecue joint for a few beers. "Dude, you're really committing to this act, aren't you?" Ben said, giving me a thumbs up. "But hey, it's a genius move. You and Tori are practically having a second honeymoon." I flip him the bird. "It's not an act, man. I really don't remember anything. But it doesn't matter anymore. I get why I liked her so much. I'm happy now. The only thing I still don't get is why I was supposedly so paranoid before. You sure you weren't just making that up? Jealous of my happiness?" Julian came back, and Tori immediately made him VP of her company. "That's not normal, dude," Ben retorted. "I think you're just jealous." I shot back, but a seed of doubt had been planted. Ben looked at me, opened his mouth as if to say something, but then closed it again. A few beers later, I saw it was getting late and decided to head over to the gala to pick Tori up. But when I got to the entrance, I saw something that burned itself into my memory. Tori was stumbling out, looking unsteady on her feet, and holding her up was a man in a tailored suit. It was Julian. In an instant, the blood in my veins turned to ice. Ben's warning from earlier, mixed with the alcohol, sent a surge of rage through me. I stormed over and threw a punch right at Julian's face. He staggered back and fell to the ground. I was about to pounce on him when Tori, recovering from her shock, shoved me away with all her strength and rushed to Julian's side. Before I could even say a word, she turned on me. "Noah, are you insane? Why did you hit him?" She quickly turned back to Julian. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Julian said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "Noah probably just saw me helping you and got the wrong idea. Don't be mad at him." I never seen someone so two-faced. I was momentarily speechless. "Noah, apologize to Julian right now." Tori yelled at me, her face flushed with anger. "He was kind enough to be my date tonight, and you attack him? What is wrong with you? Are you blind, Tori?" I finally exploded. "Can't you see how fake he's being? You go to a party with your ex, getting all cozy with him, and I, your husband, don't have the right to be angry." I couldn't take it anymore. I turned and walked away, not sparing another glance for the two of them. Furious, I didn't go home. I got a room at a random hotel and collapsed onto the bed, my mind racing. I had been too angry earlier, too lost in the recent bubble of happiness. It was only then that a serious question hit me. Noah Miller, was never a paranoid person. Maybe a little possessive, but not insecure. How could I have turned into the suspicious, paranoid man Tori described? I decided I would talk to her in the morning and get the full story of what had happened these past 10 years. The alcohol eventually pulled me into a restless sleep. Vague images of Tori flickered through my dreams, her angry words echoing in my ears. I woke up early the next day, showered, and got ready to go home to finally have it out with Tori. But I never could have expected what was waiting for me. As I approached her front door, I saw Julian Croft. He shot me a smirk, then walked past me and let himself into our house, moving with a familiarity that made it seem like he lived there. 04. "Tori, I'm back," Julian called out cheerfully. "I grabbed your files from the office, and I figured you hadn't eaten, so I brought some breakfast. Come on, let's eat." He walked towards Tori, taking her arm as if to lead her to the dining table, completely ignoring my presence. Tori gently pulled her arm away. "How did you get in?" "Oh, I just tried my birthday on a whim," he said with a triumphant smile. "And it worked. You're still so sentimental." His boastful tone hit me like a lightning bolt. She had told me the code was our wedding anniversary. Was she lying to me the whole time because of my amnesia? Was the code actually Julian's birthday? I couldn't understand why Tori would deceive me. Was she really still hung up on this manipulative jerk? I snatched the folder from Julian's hand. Tori's face went pale, and she tried to grab it back, but I was faster. I flipped it open. Divorce papers. Any flicker of hope I had left was instantly extinguished. We had just fought last night. There's no way she could have drawn these up so quickly. They had to have been ready for a long time. It all clicked into place. She had been planning to divorce me all along. My amnesia was just a temporary reprieve. This wasn't a new start for her. It was a stay of execution. A sharp pain shot through my chest. I felt like a complete clown. Fate had given me a second chance, and I just walked right back into the same trap, letting her fool me all over again. I turned to leave, but Tori grabbed my arm. "Don't go." I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. "Don't go," I yelled. "You want me to stay here and watch you two rub my face in it?" My tone must have been harsher than I intended, because she flinched and pulled her hand back. I took a deep breath, tried to regain some composure. "Tori, I was willing to start over because I trusted my own judgment, the part of me that fell for you. But what did you do? The passcode to our home is your ex's birthday, and you have the nerve to call me paranoid? Did it ever occur to you that my paranoia comes from the fact that you never once gave me a reason to feel secure? Fine, I'm done. You can have him." "No, it's not what you think. Let me explain." I signed the papers, threw them on the floor, and walked out, ignoring whatever she was trying to say. I thought I heard her yell something, maybe at me, maybe at Julian. It didn't matter anymore. All I wanted was to get as far away from her as I could. I couldn't sleep that night. 28-year-old Noah had already been through this pain, and now my 18-year-old self had to experience it all over again. I must have really owed her in a past life. I opened my phone and saw a new post on Julian's Instagram feed. A picture of 2 plane tickets. The caption read, "Just the 2 of us." I was so furious, I immediately blocked them both. I crashed to Ben's place. "Whoa, what happened?" Ben asked, glancing away from the TV. "Yesterday, you were all about making it work with her, and today you're divorced? If you don't have anything nice to say, I can help you shut your mouth," I grumbled. How was I supposed to know she was playing me the whole time? "I told you, man," he said, shaking his head. "But you never listen. 18 or 28, you're still a simp when it comes to her. This guy was definitely going to die alone." Luckily, my 18-year-old self had some fight in him. With my degree from Northwood, I managed to land a decent job. Ben and I fell into a routine. Work during the day, play Valhalla Ops at night, and stay up until 3 a.m. flaming strangers on Discord. This was the life I had always dreamed of. I was free from the chains of the past decade, living for the now and the future. I thought this peaceful existence would last. But less than a month later, my past came knocking. I opened my front door to find Tori standing there. She looked pale. Her eyes were red-rimmed, as if she hadn't slept in days. "What do you want?" "The divorce waiting period isn't even over," I said coldly. I had been counting. 7 more days. "I never agreed to a divorce," she replied quietly. I let out a bitter laugh. "You didn't agree? Then why did you have the papers drawn up?" "For fun." She ignored my sarcasm, her captivating eyes fixed on mine, as if trying to see right through me. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. We need to talk, really talk. Please. I just got back from business trip, and I'm exhausted. Can you just come home with me?" I thought of Julian's Instagram post and sneered. A business trip, or a romantic getaway for 2? Then another thought hit me. Wait, you didn't sign the papers, did you? Did you let me wait a month for nothing? Her silence, and the tears welling in her eyes, was all the answer I needed. I felt my resolve crumble. I decided to hear her out one last time. We went back to the house. It felt familiar, but I wasn't nostalgic. There was nothing here for me to miss. The password was still the same. I cursed under my breath. "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" I asked, kicking back on the sofa like I owned the place. Tori, however, sat perfectly straight, her hands clasped in her lap. Her eyes were still red, and her voice trembled slightly. That night, I only asked Julian to the gala because he didn't want to go, and I had a little too much to drink. That's the only reason he was helping me walk. And the door code really is our wedding anniversary. It's just a coincidence that it's also his birthday. I had completely forgotten. He and I grew up together. Our families are close. That's why I made him VP. Can we please not fight over such small things and people who don't matter? I found the whole thing laughable. I lit a cigarette. Tori flinched, but didn't say anything. Small things? You think these are small things? Tori, you think he's insignificant because you've never truly tried to understand me. Have you ever put yourself in my shoes? You think Julian doesn't matter. The fact that you chose him over me that night proves that I'm the one who doesn't matter. Tori opened her mouth to speak, but I held up a hand to stop her. Let me finish. As my wife, you never took the time to know me. You never gave anything, and you never saw what I gave. For instance, you had no idea that I quit smoking for 10 years, all for you. I held up the half-smoked cigarette. But none of that matters now. Fate gave me a do-over, and I don't want to be tangled up with you anymore. After losing my memory, I realized I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone I didn't like. I can't let that happen. I have to be myself again. Let's just let each other go. Sometime during my speech, tears had started streaming down her face. I pulled a tissue from the box and handed it to her. A familiar pang of hurt shot through me. Letting go was much easier said than done. Think about it, I said softly. Then I left the house that was once my home and now felt like a stranger's. 05. After our talk, Tori disappeared for a few days and my life returned to its normal rhythm. Did you hear? Your wife fired her old flame. You think she's going to try and win you back? Ben burst into my apartment, eager to share the latest gossip. I was surprised. I almost felt bad for the manipulative snake, but then I remembered his words and his Instagram posts, and I figured he got what he deserved. That night, I went with Ben to our high school reunion. It was surreal, seeing kids who were just stressing about the SATs a few days ago in my memory and now transformed into world-weary, slightly paunchy adults, all schmoozing and networking. It was kind of depressing. To my surprise, Leah Evans, our class president and valedictorian, was there. I owed her big time. Without her help, I never would have gotten into Northwood. Leah, you look amazing. How come you never call? I teased. She shot me a playful, flirtatious look. Look who's talking. Ever since you got married, you've dropped off the face of the earth. Did the wife finally let you off your leash tonight? We're getting divorced, actually, I said with a self-deprecating laugh. Leah gave me an apologetic look, but I could have sworn I saw something else in her eyes, something like relief. As the night wore on and everyone got progressively drunker, someone suggested we go out for karaoke. I made my excuses, and to my surprise, Leah said she was leaving too. We ended up walking together. Besides Ben, Leah was the only person from my past that I'd reconnected with since the amnesia, so we had a lot to talk about. You always seemed so devoted to your wife. What happened? Did she ask for the divorce? She asked, trying to sound casual, but the way she was nervously fiddling with the hem of her shirt gave her away. Her question annoyed me. Why did everyone assume I was the pathetic one? Couldn't I have been the one to ask for it? I just realized that in trying to make her happy, I completely lost myself. She nodded in agreement. I know what you mean. After you got married, you became so meek. I barely recognized you. But tonight, you seem like the guy I remember from 10 years ago. A little reckless, maybe, but confident and full of life. I'll take that as a compliment, I said with a small smile. When we got to the entrance of my new apartment building, I decided to tell her the truth. Look, the truth is, I have amnesia. My memory stops right after high school graduation. So, seriously, thank you. Without you, I never would have gotten into Northwood. Leah's eyes widened, a flicker of something unreadable in them. So, do you still love Tori? Her question caught me off guard. I wanted to say no, but for some reason, the word got stuck in my throat. The image of Tori's tear-streaked face from the other night flashed in my mind, and I couldn't bring myself to say it. I was about to say good night when she suddenly stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me in a hug. I froze, not knowing what to do. I heard her whisper in my ear, "If you two really get divorced, give me a chance. I've waited a long time for you." Before I could respond, she pulled away, gave me a quick wave, and walked off without looking back. I walked into the lobby, and a shadow suddenly lunged at me, hugging me so tightly it knocked the wind out of me. Then I heard Tori's trembling voice. "Who was that woman?" I hardened my heart. "What's it to you?" The light in Tori's eyes dimmed. Then she kissed me, a frantic, desperate kiss, as if she were trying to devour me. It was intense and overwhelming. I pushed her away. "Are you crazy?" "Noah, I'm jealous." And just like that, I lost. "She's a friend from high school," I explained, my voice softening. "She tutored me. I wouldn't have gotten into Northwood without her. I never would have met you." Tori finally seemed to relax. She hugged me again, this time gently, and whispered in my ear, "Husband, I've been thinking a lot these past few days. I know I was wrong, so wrong, but I can't live without you. Please, give me one more chance." I fired Julian. I only just found out about all the things he was doing behind my back. I swear that Instagram post was fake. You're the only one I want. I promise he'll never come between us again. It would be a lie to say I wasn't moved. Seeing her so vulnerable and pleading was almost impossible to resist. But the recent betrayals had left deep scars. I was afraid to try again. Tori, you still don't get it, I said, my voice heavy with exhaustion. The problem was never just about Julian. It was about your coldness, your distrust, and the pathetic, spineless person I became just to please you. Tori fell silent. We were both wrong, I continued, but I don't want to keep making the same mistakes. I want to be me again. After Tori left, I lay in bed, unable to sleep. I wanted to believe she had never cheated on me, but I couldn't accept the man I had become. My mind was a blur, filled with images of her tear-filled eyes. I opened my phone and saw a message from an unexpected source. He wanted to meet at a restaurant across the street from Tori's office building. All right, what do you want? I asked, looking at Julian Croft sitting across from me. I had no idea what we could possibly have to talk about. You know, Noah, I never thought much of you, he began. You just swooped in while I was gone. You couldn't possibly compare to the history Tori and I have. So what's your point? Are you trying to brag? I said, my patience wearing thin. A guy who's already been kicked out of the game has no right to look down on the players. This guy was unbelievable. But I was wrong, he admitted, his arrogance gone. I tried everything to push your buttons, to make you paranoid. But I underestimated how much Tori loves you. She never once took my side, never accepted my comfort. And when she saw that you-only Instagram post I made, she fired me without a second thought, completely disregarding our family's relationship. That's what you get, I said coldly. If you had fought for her fair and square, I would have respected you. But you're just a snake who plays dirty tricks. If that's all you wanted to say, I'm leaving. I stood up, but Julian grabbed my arm, his eyes now holding an almost pleading look. I know how much she loves you. We grew up together. Putting my own selfish feelings aside, she's still like a sister to me. I want her to be happy. So if you still love her, stop torturing her. And if you don't, for God's sake, let her go. I walked out of the restaurant in a daze, my mind reeling. Did I love Tori? The answer was yes. I was sure of it now. I had just been so caught up in the resentment I felt for my past, pathetic self. In the end, it was all just my stupid pride. As I was lost in thought, I saw her, Tori, standing across the street, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. She must have thought I was there to see her. She started running towards me. But then I saw it, a car, speeding down the road way too fast. My mind went blank. There was no time to think. All I could do was run, using all my strength to shove her out of the way. In the split second before the impact, a strange sense of peace washed over me. This is fine, I thought. At least this way, the conflict is over. When I woke up in the hospital again, my first thought was that I must have a damn lucky star. My second was seeing Tori, asleep in the chair next to my bed, her head resting on the mattress, her hand still clutching mine tightly. Good news. I had faced down a speeding car and won. Even better news. All my memories had come flooding back. The last 10 years flashed before my eyes like a movie. I saw Tori, exhausted from building her company, her face breaking into a smile of pure relief when she came home and saw me. Suddenly, the humiliation and pathetic weakness I'd been so ashamed of melted away. Maybe the meekness I despised was never really there. Maybe my sacrifices hadn't been for nothing. Looking at Tori's tired face, a familiar yet new wave of protectiveness washed over me. I finally understood. The me I wanted to be was simply the whole me, the me with all my memories. Whether it was the arrogant 18-year-old or the supposedly pathetic 28-year-old, there was one constant. I loved Tori. I tried to gently pull my hand free, but the movement woke her up. Our eyes met. Without a word, I used my free hand to cup her chin and pulled her into a kiss. For a second, she looked shocked, then she melted into it, kissing me back with a passion that matched my own. Under Tori's attentive care, I recovered quickly. Soon enough, it was time for me to be discharged. But instead of taking me home, she drove me straight to the county courthouse. What's this all about? I asked, an amused smile on my face. When you were in surgery after the accident, I made a promise, she said, her voice serious. I prayed that if you lived, I would give you anything you wanted, including a divorce. But what if I don't want a divorce anymore? I said, pulling her into my arms. But I was such a terrible wife, she whispered. I want to start over. Properly this time. What could I do? A man's got to spoil his own wife. We walked out of the courthouse, and one of the clerks commented that they'd never seen a couple look so happy to be getting divorced. We just looked at each other and smiled. This time, Tori said, her eyes sparkling, "It's my turn to chase you, Noah Miller, and I'll love you for the rest of my life." I thought to myself,